sections. A circle. This is not a definition you've probably learned before. A locus of all points in a plane equidistant from a given point called the center of the circle. A locus is just a set of points, all right? So a circle is a set of all points equidistant from a given point, all right? So if you were to take the center of the circle with like a string on a pencil on a string, right? It's the same distance away all the way around is what that circle represents. The center of the circle is a point, all right? It is this. The circles are usually named by the center point, all right? And so they've given you the symbol for circle. You can say circle C, that's the center of this circle, or you can do the little symbol for a circle, which looks like a circle with a center point in it, right? No one ever draws this. So, I mean, they usually just write circle C, but whatever. Special segments, a chord, any segment with endpoints that are on the circle. Any segment that the endpoints are on the circle. So this is an example of a chord. A chord that you are very familiar with is the diameter. The diameter is a chord that goes through the center, okay? So the diameter is a type of chord. It goes through the center. The radius, you are familiar with this term as well, goes from the center to any point on the circle itself. So any segment with endpoints that are the center and a point on the circle is called the radius. All radii are the same length because all points on the circle are the same length from the center, okay? So you can have as many radii as you want. So in this particular case, we have CD as a radius, CB as a radius, CE as a radius, all right? Note that the diameter, this guy right here, BE, is made up of collinear radii that are CB and CE. So collinear, same line, right? And so it's exactly 2 of the radius makes up 1 of the diameter, right? Diameter is exactly double the radius. All right, so identify parts. So you should be able to be given something like this and name these. Name the circle, circle K. Name a radius. Well, you could say KN, KO, KP, KQ, KR. Anything from K to the outside. Name a chord. This NO is a chord, RP is a chord. Those are the only 2 that go all the way across, right? So you have to have both points on the end. A diameter, there's only 1 diameter shown here, that is RP, all right? So you should be able to be given a figure and name those types of things from the figure itself, all right? Then solving. Look at example 2, top of page 523. It's circle A has a diameter DF and PG. DF and PG. If DF is 10, find DA. Anytime they give you the diameter and ask for the radius, what do you need to do? Divide it by 2, right? Or multiply by 1/2. Same thing. When you do that here, you get that length should be 5. PA. They've given me PA. What did they give me? PA.
7.
Yeah, that is 7, but what is this? It's a radius. PG. What do they want? So we need to double it. It's going to be 14. Very simple. AG, yes, is 12. They want LA. What did they give me?
2.
Yeah, this is a radius, this is a radius. So this length is going to be 12. So in this case, they have the diameters of A, B, and C are 10 inches, 20 inches, and 14 inches respectively. All right, respectively means in that order. That's what that means. So obviously, A is the first one they listed. A is 10 inches. B is the second one they listed. B is 20 inches. And C is the third one they listed. So C is 14 inches. They've given me diameters. All right. Find XB. All right. So they've given me this, which is no part. It's not a radius. It's not a diameter, right? So we are going to have to use the information they gave us to solve for this guy. All right. And so what you want to do with something like this is you want to get a visual of what they've given you and what you're looking for. So for something like this, I'm going to do like maybe 10, right? I'm going to mark this one as 14, and I'm going to mark this one as 20. All right. What I do know, so what do I know? Well, I know that if that center circle is 20, then I know that the radius is what? 10. And if I know that A is 10, I know its radius is 5. All right, so I now can figure out that I have 10 right here, make it smaller, 10 right here, and 5 right here. So that leaves this piece. What do I do to find that little piece? Subtract. So I would say 10 minus 5, that length should be 5, right? Make sense? So when they give you groups, you're going to label what you have and figure out what you're looking for. Look at the next one. All right, so I'm going to get rid of all my markings here. We're going to look at the next guy. Find B to Y. Well, we're basically going to do the same thing, right? They want this part right here. All right?
Yep.
I know the half of my large circle was what? 10. And then the half of this one, it should be 7. So what is this length?
3.
There we go. Circumference. The circumference of a circle is the distance around the circle. Circumference is most often represented by the capital letter C, rather. All right, so when you're solving like in an equation, it'll say C equals and 2 pi r, whatever their diameter times pi, or whatever they've given you. Okay, and so that C represents circumference, meaning how much are in a polygon you would say perimeter. Okay, so in a polygon you would say the perimeter or the distance around the polygon. In a circle, we call it circumference. All right, it's simply the distance around. How far around is this circle? All right, and you should also be very familiar with these definitions of circumference. The circumference equation, pi times diameter or pi times 2 of my radius. The most common way is 2 pi r. That is how you normally learn it, 2 pi r, okay? Because your diameter, if you were to put it in terms of radius, you'd say 2r, right? But it sounds weird to say pi 2r. That just doesn't flow as nicely. All right, pi. So we've talked about, we've used pi, I guess. Pi is the number that they backed into, all right? Every circle had the same ratio that kept popping up. If they were to take the circumference and divide it by the diameter, they would get this number. The Bible rounded it to 3 instead of 3.14, which is what we currently round it to. So if you look at in the Bible, when they describe the altar, God told them to do it in a, basically a circumference compared to diameter would be a 3-to-1 ratio is what he told them to build the circle of the altar in. That is pi, just rounded to a whole number. And so as they came to be able to divide more and have a computer that actually showed them this was continuing on and on and on, they saw that this was our irrational number. So when you start learning irrational numbers way back when, pi is one of the examples they always give you, non-repeating, non-terminating decimal. But what it represents is the ratio between the circumference and the diameter of any circle. Any circle, if it is a perfect circle, the circumference and diameter will create the ratio of pi. And so you need to know the definition and you need to know the formula. Either pi times the diameter or 2 times pi times the radius, all right? That will give you the circumference. So look at the examples, very simple. Find the circumference if the radius is 7. All right, if the radius is 7. Well, I'm just going to plug in what I know and solve for what I don't know. They want me to solve for my circumference. I know my radius. All right, and so I'm going to plug that in. If you leave it in terms of pi, your answer here would be 14 pi. If I tell you to round to the nearest like 10th, then, or in this case 100th, because it goes to 2 decimal places here, you would put it like that. All right, so I will say give me the exact amount. That means leave it in terms of pi. That's the only way to write it exactly. Or I will say round, and that means put it into your calculators and round. All right, look at the next one. Find circumference if diameter is 12.5. Well, when I have diameter, I don't need to multiply by 2. So I'm just going to say 12.5 times pi. That is your answer. If you plug it into the calculator and round it, you will get 39.27. Question. Last one. Find your diameter and your radius to the nearest 100th if your circumference is 136.9. So they've given me circumference. So again, I'm going to plug in what I know and solve for what I don't know. 136.9 should be my diameter times pi. All right, so I need to divide both sides by pi. So here, I'm going to take the 136.9 and divide by pi. That's going to give me to the nearest 100th, 43.58. I need the radius as well. How do I solve for radius?
Divide by 2.
Divide that by 2. So just take that guy and divide by 2. And you will get 21.79. All right, name the circle. You name the circle by the center. So this is circle E. Name a radius. You had several options here. EA, EB, EC, anything from E to the outside. Name a chord. Several options there as well. Name a diameter. You actually had 2 of those. So if you just had to put 1, but it gave you all options. All right.
Did you say DB?
All right. They gave us the radius of W as 4, the radius of Z as 7, and then they gave you this little tiny part here, X to Y is 2. So Y to Z then is 5.
Yes.
I to X, we know that just from the initial part, right, is 6, right? Because we have to add the radius plus the little 2 that's left over. And then I all the way to C is 20. All right, so they wanted the diameter and the circumference. You should have gotten 10, just double it from the radius, and then multiply by pi, 31.42. And then they gave you the circumference. They wanted diameter and radius. Divide by pi, 753.76, and then divide that in half, 376.88.
Oh, let's go.